revealed 6 spine-chilling mysteries of the haunted autopsy that terrified Brazil and the world. Jamie had heard the whispers in Hollow Creek, the chilling gossip that stirred like a storm in the quiet diner where she slung hash browns during the graveyard shift. Each night, she scrubs down counters, haunted by the afterimages of the 6 locals who had simply vanished. Their faces faded into the pastel walls of the small-town hauntings. Just last week, Mrs. Thompson had claimed to see shadowy figures outside her window, pacing like restless souls. But who would believe that? The air felt heavy, stifling, thick with unspoken fears. Each click of the diner's clock echoed like a heartbeat, counting down to uncertainty on her way home. She felt it, the prickling sense of being watched, an insistent whisper at the back of her mind. Was it just exhaustion from hours of waiting tables? The streets of Hollow Creek were too silent, too still, save for the creaking of her old bungalow door that reminded her of the loneliness that clung to the walls like shade. Inside, her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, lay huddled beneath her blanket, her chest rising and falling like the tides of an ocean burdened with worry. "Mommy, I can't sleep," she wailed, eyes wide and haunted, the dark nightmares gnawing at her youthful repose. One evening after a shift that ricocheted with the nervous energy of too many cups of cheap coffee, Jamie stumbled upon a box of old autopsy reports at the diner. Their yellowed pages crisped in her hands, revealing disturbing truths about the disappearances, as if the ink was seeping into her mind. The reports hinted at something much darker: medical experiments gone awry in the hollowed halls of an abandoned hospital. A chill surged through her spine, wrapping around her heart like a vice. Should she even be looking at this? Something sinister loomed behind the texts, a whisper that told her she was entangled in a web of shadows far beyond her comprehension. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Heart pounding, she entered the long-abandoned hospital, the stench of decay clawing at her nostrils. The shadows hummed, each step echoing betrayal and horrors etched into the peeling walls. Whispers of lost souls brushed against her ears, their cries weaving through the air like ribbons of despair. She felt their presence, watchful, waiting. A journal lay buried beneath a mound of debris, remnants of a life once lived. The pages fluttered like frantic birds trapped in a storm. Scratching sounds echoed behind her. Panic surged. Who was there? As she stumbled back, the air crackled with malevolence. The uncanny sensation of a gaze pinned her down, someone or something watching, waiting, plotting. A name caught her eye in the journal, one that sent daggers through her heart. It pointed to a dark intertwining of her family's past with the hospital, a destiny she thought was buried. The walls seemed to close in, encasing her in an inescapable snare. Lily's voice, soft and terrified, danced in her mind. It called her back. But what if it was too late? As fear coursed through her veins, what if the town wanted her to stay silent? What if she was already too deep to turn back? The darkness behind her was shifting, creeping closer. Jamie turned to run, the shadow following, a sinister promise lurking in its wake. As she arrived home, she looked back at the hospital, the secrets it held poised to consume her whole. The truth lay buried deep. Would she unlock it before the town swallowed her whole? Jamie burst through the door, her heart racing, breathless with dread. The familiar scent of home, faded laundry, and stale coffee offered little comfort. But the sensation of being watched clung to her like a second skin, prickling at her nerves. She glanced at Lily, still cocooned in her blanket. For a brief moment, Jamie felt a hint of safety, wrapped in the innocence of her daughter. Yet she knew this peace was fragile, teetering on the edge of nightmares. "Mommy?" Lily's voice trembled. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, sweetheart," Jamie managed, forcing a smile, though her insides twisted. Shadows flickered beyond the window, just the trees swaying, she told herself. But deep down, the hospital's grip tightened on her mind, pulling her thoughts toward the sinister truths she'd unearthed. What happened? Her daughter asked as she pulled the blanket tighter. Just work stuff, Jamie said, knowing full well that work stuff had turned dangerous. She sat on the edge of Lily's bed, her pulse echoing in her ears like a distant drum. I just need to breathe. But the silence that enveloped them felt like a heavy shroud, thick and suffocating. The clock on the wall ticked incessantly, each sound amplifying her anxiety until it felt as if it might burst. She glanced around the room, crayon drawings taped to the walls, stuffed animals lining the shelves. Innocent moments all too easy to shatter. Did I end that stillness? A voice echoed in her mind, cold and mocking. You shouldn't have come back, Jamie. She gasped, the air catching in her throat. Dizziness washed over her as if she were back in the hospital, ensnared in malevolence. She stood, bracing herself against the wall. There were things she had not yet uncovered, threads that knitted her life and the disappearances together with a fabric of darkness, waiting to unravel. Mommy? Lily's voice broke through the fog. Fear glimmered in her wide eyes. Can we turn on a movie? The idea sent a fleeting sense of normalcy through Jamie, yet the shadows still roamed the corners of her mind. Sure, baby. She turned the television on and sat there, eyes vacant as the screen flickered to life with bright colors. But all she could see was darkness closing in. Moments passed. Scenes in the movie unfolded, but Jamie's thoughts retreated to the journal, each word anchoring her deeper into the shadows of the past. The name she had read, her family's name, resonated like a death knell. She felt a tight knot in her stomach. There had to be more. A part of her warned her to stay away, to protect Lily at all costs, but another part yearned for the truth, even if it would tear them apart. A sudden chill swept through the room. The TV flickered, and the shadows seemed to shift. Jamie looked up, heart racing. The curtains billowed as if a wind had found its way inside, carrying whispers of lost souls. The words slipped through her thoughts like grains of sand. Mommy? It's freezing, Lily whined, pulling her blanket tighter. I'll get a sweater, Jamie muttered, rising to leave. As she stepped into the living room, the toys felt scattered like the pieces of her unraveling life. The strange sensation heightened, like fingers brushing along her spine. She stopped in her tracks when she noticed something. A dark shadow loomed in the hallway, just beyond the light, watchful and malevolent. Lily? Jamie called, but the silence stretched on, swallowing her words. The presence shifted, merging with the only thing that remained before her, a door that led to the basement. A door always kept locked. You shouldn't have opened the door. The voice echoed, a soft, sinister whisper that was all too familiar. The air thickened, colliding with the oppressive dark she had witnessed just hours before. Moments hung like fragile glass. She took a step back, panic clawing at her throat. What did it want? With her heart hammering like a drum, she realized the door was slightly ajar. What lay beyond? What dark secrets awaited her, eager to ensnare her if she took that first step? As Jamie's breath hitched in her throat, she felt rooted to the spot, staring at that unforgiving door. The haunting phrase echoed in her mind, casting a gray shadow over her resolve. Memories of her childhood flashed by. The basement always locked, her parents' hushed discussions filled with dread, the whispers about family secrets left unspoken. Was this the moment where everything could change? Mommy? Lily's voice pulled her from the depths of her thoughts. It was soft, almost lost beneath the suffocating silence of the house. Are you coming back? Jamie turned her head slowly, heart sinking at the innocent worry in her daughter's voice. Yes, sweetie. She forced a smile, though it felt like a mask plastered over her true self, trembling beneath the surface. Every instinct screamed for her to pull Lily close, to shield her from whatever lay beyond that cracked door. Yet another voice, darker and relentless, urged her forward, an insatiable curiosity growing like a vine twisting around her mind. Wait here, she whispered to Lily before taking a hesitant step toward the door. The house felt alive, shadows moving in a dance of malevolence, gripping her with every creaking floorboard beneath her feet. With each step, the air turned thick and cold, pressing against her as if trying to keep her from what waited below. The faintest scent of mildew wafted up, mingling with her anxiety, pulling her back like a tide. But she was drawn onward, unable to resist the pull of the unknown. Finally, she reached the door, its ancient wood splintered and worn. It had held many secrets, and the silence surrounding it felt like a looming threat. She hesitated, breath caught once more, fingers brushing the cold metal of the doorknob. With a deep breath, she twisted it slowly. The door creaked open, and the darkness beyond swallowed her whole. The basement felt different from what she remembered, damp and heavy, swirling with the essence of despair. A single flickering bulb hung uncomfortably overhead, throwing shadows against the walls that twisted grotesquely as if alive. Her heart raced as she ventured inside, listening for any sounds, any sign of life. The air was thick with dust, the smell musty and cloying. Boxes lined the walls, many covered in layers of neglect. But one in particular caught her eye, a small, dusty trunk with rusted locks that looked oddly familiar. Compelled by a force she couldn't comprehend, she approached it. The markings looked almost like her childhood sketches, familiar yet unsettling. "What's in here?" she whispered, attempting to quell the rising tide of fright within her. Suddenly, the bulb flickered violently, plunging her into shadow. She spun around, the hairs on the back of her neck prickling as she felt it again, the presence, lurking just a breath away, waiting patiently behind her. "Mommy!" Lily's frightened shout echoed from above, shattering the thick tension. In that moment, the feeling of being observed grew more potent, an unbearable weight of questions pressing on her. "Stay there," Jamie called back, feeling the urgency rise in her chest. She turned back to the trunk, adrenaline propelling her hands forward to lift the lid. But as she did, the lights cut out entirely. The screech of the rusted hinges was deafening in the sudden blackness. Jamie panicked, her vision clouded by pitch darkness. Without the light, the space transformed. What had once been a basement beneath her family home morphed into a realm of her deepest fears. She felt a tug at her consciousness, a whisper snaking through the gloom. "You've only just begun." What had she unleashed? What waited in the darkness, hungry for the truth? A cold sweat dripped down her neck as she thought of Lily, of their fragile bond, of everything that could break if she uncovered the secrets buried beneath her home. With shaking hands, Jamie pressed her ear to the trunk. The whispers grew louder, clawing for attention. But what would she find there? Would it lead to salvation or doom? The air thickened with dread, shrouded in a mystery far deeper than she could comprehend. And then, she felt it, a cold hand grazing her shoulder. Her heart thundered, a wild drumbeat against the oppressive silence. Jamie's breath hitched, each inhale a fight against the panic coiling in her gut. She stood frozen, fingers trembling at her side, unsure whether to flee or confront the invisible presence that seemed to envelop her. "Who's there?" Her voice came out weak, barely a whisper tangled in the darkness. The air crackled, thick with an energy that felt alive, wrapping around her like a shroud. The cold hand withdrew, but Jamie could still feel the chill lingering on her skin, as if it had left an imprint. In the absence of sight, her mind spiraled into a frenzy of horrific imaginings. What if this wasn't just a lingering ghost from her past, but something parasitic, waiting to consume whatever light she had left? Drawing a shaky breath, she edged closer to the trunk, heart racing as she felt the lid beneath her fingers. It wanted to be opened. Something inside her screamed to resist, but that deeper current of curiosity pulled her in tighter. Just a peek. Just one look. As her fingers fumbled with the latch, a guttural sound grew in the distance, a low, throaty growl that echoed off the damp walls, vibrating through the air like an ominous heartbeat. "Mommy!" Lily's voice rang out again, softer now, laced with fear. The sound felt like a lifeline, a reminder of the world above, the world that still held warmth and light. "Stay safe, sweetie," Jamie shouted back, not willing to let her fear spill over into her voice. But fear had already woven itself into her words, a chilling tremor threading through every syllable. With a fierce determination, She flipped the latch and hesitated only a moment before she lifted the trunk's lid. The hinges screamed a protest, a sound that felt as if it could ignite the darkness. Inside, the contents lay draped in shadows. Indistinct forms shifted, the outlines barely visible, as if they were waiting with bated breath. Then came the light. The flickering bulb overhead sputtered back to life, illuminating the trunk's contents, a jumble of old photographs, letters yellowed with age, and a tattered doll with eyes that seemed to follow her. Horrifying memories flooded back, images of her family's secrets spilling forth like a broken dam. But the fear tightened further. Something was off. The whispered tones morphed, a cacophony of voices intertwining, weaving tales of despair and rage that clawed at her sanity. She pressed a hand to her temple, struggling to sift through the noise, fighting to focus. "Stop it!" she cried out into the abyss, anger surging through her. The uproar faded, leaving a gaping abyss of silence. A single photo drifted out of the trunk, landing face up her parents, eyes glazed over, standing by the very door she had just unlocked. A chill washed over her. It felt like a warning, an unspoken truth about the darkness she was unearthing. "Mommy!" Lily's voice trembled once more, echoing off the walls, pulling Jamie from her trance. It was clear the danger was not just in the basement, but lurking back in her daughter's innocent eyes above. She could almost see the reflection of terror waiting to seep through the floorboards of their lives. Time was running out. Jamie froze for a moment, weighing the choice ahead. But the echoes of the basement were growing louder, a suffocating symphony urging her to stay. Would she abandon the truth to protect Lily, or would she dive deeper into the shadows for answers? Tension knotted in her chest as panic set in. Just as she decided to step back and call for Lily, a piercing scream sliced through the air. Two words hung heavy in the air, shattering the oppressive calm. "Mom! Help!" The ground felt unsteady beneath her feet. Jamie had only moments to decide her path. Would the basement's dark secrets lead to salvation or doom? As the deep shadows writhed, she stepped back toward the door, heart wild with dread and urgency. Lily's voice, fraught with desperation, echoed in Jamie's mind as she gripped the edge of the trunk. It felt like a lifeline, yet it pulled her deeper into the torment of that basement, a place heavy with whispers and frightful memories. She couldn't stay here. Not now. Not when her daughter was in danger. Spinning on her heel, she dashed toward the door, heart pounding in her chest, urgency flooding her veins. Each footfall reverberated against the damp floor, a steady reminder of just how quickly time was slipping through her fingers. "Lily," she called, her voice trembling in the heavy silence, thick as fog. The growl from before stirred again, low and menacing, crawling along her skin, making every hair stand on end. "Mom!" The tone was higher now, frantic. "Please, I'm scared." She reached the basement stairs, feeling the cold permeate her skin as if the shadows were clutching at her. The warped banister groaned under her grip as she bounded up, desperate breaths escaping her lips. Up there, Lily waited, oblivious to the horrors lurking below. The moment she reached the door, a sudden chill made her pause. A shadow flickered in the corner of her eye. It was the doll, the one with the glassy eyes that now seemed strangely animated. It sat atop the trunk, eerily still, its presence sending a jolt of fear through her. She tore her eyes away. This was no time to linger. With a swift motion, she flung open the door, bursting into the hallway beyond. The dim light felt like a beacon, a salvation from the suffocating darkness of the basement. "Lily!" Jamie shouted, looking desperately around the eerily quiet house. The usual creaks of the old floors felt amplified, each sound a reminder of the faint threat that seemed to pulse in her very bones. The hallway was empty. She sprinted toward Lily's room, taking her daughter's terrified voice as a compass guiding her through the storm of dread. "Lily, I'm coming. Hold on." As she pushed through the door, a wave of nausea hit her. Everything looked wrong. The room was in disarray. Toys were scattered on the floor. Books lay open, pages flapping like dying birds. But that wasn't what paralyzed her. It was the sight of the bed, the sheets twisted and wrinkled, a dark stain spreading like an ominous shadow. Lily. Panic clawed at her throat as she rushed forward, heart racing. Then came the laughter. It was small and innocent, piercing through the darkness, chilling Jamie to the bone. It didn't come from her daughter. "Mommy is so silly." A figure emerged from the other side of the bed, too small and too familiar. Lily was there, but not alone. A dark silhouette loomed behind her, a grotesque smirk twisting across its featureless face. It grinned, showing pointed teeth, eyes hollow and black, like pits that consumed light. "Let her go," Jamie screamed, every instinct screaming to protect her daughter. But as if to answer, the figure stretched a long, clawed hand, brushing against Lily's cheek, an unsettling caress. "You're just in time for the game," it hissed, and Jamie could feel the very walls of the room tremble at its voice, a sound like nails scraping across glass. "Run, Lily. Get out," Jamie shouted, terror flooding her every word. But Lily stood frozen, a disturbing stillness washing over her, eyes glassy and unseeing, as if she were enchanted by the dark being binding her. In that instant, Jamie's heart shattered. She couldn't let this thing take her daughter. Every whisper from the basement echoed back, every warning she tried to ignore. Secrets were never meant to be unearthed, and this one it demanded a price. With adrenaline spiking, Jamie lunged forward, ready to drag her daughter away from the terror twisting in the shadows. But the being's grip tightened, pulling Lily further into its dark allure. Would Jamie have the strength to confront the darkness consuming her child? Would she uncover the truth behind the family secrets, or would she lose everything in that very moment? The tension stretched thin, a taut wire ready to snap, as thunder rumbled outside, the storm fraying the edges of reality. Jamie's heart raced, each beat drowning out the laughter that echoed from the far corners of the room. She felt like a marionette, every string pulled by a malevolent hand. The dark figure held Lily in a trance, and desperation coursed through her. Would love be enough to shatter its hold? "Lily, look at me," Jamie pleaded, taking a step closer, her breath quick and shallow. "You have to fight it. I'm right here. Mommy loves you." But Lily's gaze remained distant, lost within a void. The figure leaned closer, its breath cold, a rancid stench that filled the air. Jamie could taste fear on her tongue, bitter and metallic as the tension grew thick, a noose tightening around her resolve and the chaos. A memory struck her like a lightning bolt, the doll from the basement. She had seen it in grim stories whispered around campfires. People said it had eyes that watched and a soul that thrived on despair. Was that what it wanted? To take Lily's hope? No, Jamie roared, feeling her own power surge against the oppressive force. "You don't get to win." With a burst of energy, she lunged toward her daughter. But in that instant, the figure twisted, an inky mass of limbs and shadows. It snared Jamie's wrist with a grip that felt like iron, pulling her close. Its smirk widened, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "Mommy's here now, so let us play a game." It cackled, an unsettling sound that crawled over her skin, chilling her bones. "No," Jamie screamed, twisting in its grasp, every fiber of her being screaming to free Lily from its clutches. With every ounce of strength, she ripped at the foul grip, and for a heartbeat, she felt the shadow waver. "Lily, hold my hand. Just reach out to me." But instead of moving, the figure behind her turned deeper into the shadows, its eyes flickering like glimmers of lost stars. "She's not yours anymore," it hissed, a playful taunt that sent chills racing up Jamie's spine. Against her will, she felt the darkness seep into her thoughts, whispering promises of power and safety if she chose to give in. No, she wouldn't let fear usurp love. Not now, not ever. "Get away from her," Jamie screamed again, using her body to shield Lily, pushing the sinister force away. The air crackled with the manifest struggle, shadows swirling and thickening as if the room itself were a living nightmare. Suddenly, there was a flicker. Her daughter's eyes darted briefly to Jamie, and for a moment, clarity pierced the veil of darkness. "Mommy, help!" That single plea ignited a fire within Jamie. She reached for Lily, grasping the familiar warmth of her daughter's hand, ready to pull her back from the brink. But the figure, sensing its control slipping, shrieked, shattering the fragile moment. "You'll pay for this defiance." In an instant, before Jamie could react, the air shimmered and shifted. A cacophony of whispers filled the room, drowning out all sound, trapping them in a haunting melody of despair. The walls pulsed and breathed, alive with malevolence, drawing on the fear that thickened like fog around them. Jamie's mind raced. She could feel the grip of destiny tightening, both terrifying and intoxicating. She had to act quickly if she was to save her daughter, if she was to save herself. Just then, through the maelstrom of chaos, a recollected tale reached out from the depths of her mind. "There's always a way to break the curse," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. But what did that mean? She locked eyes with Lily once more. A spark of determination ignited against the encroaching darkness. Would she uncover the secret before it consumed them both? "Lily, listen to me. We need to find the doll," Jamie shouted, feeling the tension around them shift. The next moments would decide everything as the shadows recoiled. Jamie felt the walls around her tremble, pulsing with energy all too ready to snap back. The game was on, but did she have what it took to turn the tide? The ground beneath them quaked, drawing Jamie deeper into the abyss, while the echo of the figure's laughter resonated ominously in the air, leaving her breathless with uncertainty. Jamie felt a tremor ripple beneath her feet, each rumble a reminder of the darkness clawing at her sanity. She couldn't afford any more hesitation. "We have to move, now." Pulling Lily with all her might, Jamie darted towards the stairs leading from the basement. The shadows writhed, snatching at their heels like hungry fingers desperate to drag them back. The figure's laughter sliced through the air, a mocking symphony, chilling Jamie to her core. "Faster," she urged, panic seeping into her words as she stumbled, dragging Lily behind her. The darkness shifted, closing in around them, and Jamie could feel its hate pressing against her back in a desperate bid. She twisted her head to look at Lily. "Stay close. Remember the stories? We can beat this." Lily nodded, her small hand trembling within Jamie's grip, but her eyes darkened again, fading as fear enveloped her. "Remember what we learned about courage and love," Jamie shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony of shadows. "Love pairs with light. We just need to find it." But as they reached the stairs, Jamie's heart sank. The doorway was engulfed in swirling shadows, spiraling like a cyclone, preventing their escape. Desperation clawed at her throat. "No, no, no." Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, and Jamie gasped as a chilling wind swept through the stairwell. The figure appeared at the top, its form twisting and morphing in the haze. "You're just prolonging the inevitable," it hissed, the voice like nails on a chalkboard. Jamie felt the rage surge within her, fueling her determination. "You don't own her. You never have. I will not let you take my child." With a surge of defiance, she charged at the darkness, her mind racing. There had to be something to sever the ties of the curse. Hearts pounding, they stood at the edge of the door, the shadows howling, swirling around them like a tempest. Then, through the chaos, Jamie spotted it a glint against the dark. It was the doll, propped on the shelf, eyes wide, watching with eerie anticipation. "Lily," Jamie shouted. "That's it. The doll. We need it." Lily's eyes flickered with a glimpse of recognition, but the shadows thickened, reaching for them with desperate urgency. The figure's eyes glowed red, and Jamie felt her resolve falter. "You'll regret this," it spat, as the air grew thick with dread. "Just hold on," Jamie cried, sprinting towards the doll. The shadows lunged, nearly consuming them whole as she snatched it from its shelf. Its eyes seemed to shimmer with an unsettling light, as if the very darkness craved to consume that glimmer of hope. As she clasped the doll tightly, Jamie sensed something shift. The darkness wailed, a sound of fury and panic that clawed at her ears. "Lily, we need to face it together," Jamie shouted fiercely, her grip tightening on the doll. "Breathe with me." Together they inhaled, grounding themselves against the encroaching shadows. For every heartbeat, a flicker of warmth erupted from the doll, a barrier against the cold touch of despair. The shadows recoiled, screaming as if burned by an unseen flame. Mommy Lily's voice carried a spark of strength. The door before them began to glow, illuminating their path as if responding to their bond. "Let us go," Jamie yelled, pulling Lily close, and they rushed towards the light, racing against the clutches of darkness. The figure shrieked, its form collapsing in on itself, unable to withstand the power of their love and the doll's ancient magic. Just before they crossed the threshold, Jamie glanced back at the figure, its form shattering like glass into a swarm of dark mist. "This isn't over," it whispered, a chilling promise that seemed to linger in the air long after they were gone. As they stepped into the blinding light, Jamie felt elation mixed with trepidation. Had they escaped the nightmare, or merely started a new chapter in a scarier story? And then, a small voice broke through her thoughts. "Mom, what happens next?" The question hung in the air, heavy and foreboding, begging for answers yet to be discovered. What awaited them beyond the fragile glow of safety? The shadows might have thinned, but their true horror might just be beginning. The light poured around them, a fierce halo against the brooding shadows they had barely escaped. But even in its brightness, Jamie felt an unsettling weight settle in her chest. Something lurked just beyond the glow. The air was thick, filled with a silently brewing tension. "Mom?" Lily's voice trembled again, her grip on Jamie's hand tightening. "Where are we?" Jamie stepped forward cautiously, scanning the area. They were standing in what appeared to be a ruined version of their own living room. The familiar space was torn apart, walls echoing whispers of forgotten memories. Yet the shadows still churned angrily, unyielding in their pursuit. I don't know, sweetie," Jamie replied, her stomach knotting at the dread rising within her. "But we have to stay together. We can't let it win." As they moved deeper into the room, Jamie felt the doll pulse in her hands, as if it had a heartbeat, an unsettling reminder that they were still entangled in something much larger than themselves. The doll's eyes glinted with unexpected intensity, flickering like beacons in the night, illuminating strange symbols carved into the forgotten furniture. Suddenly, another tremble coursed through the ground like an electrical jolt, and the walls shivered with it. "Not yet," Jamie yelled, lurching forward as floorboards creaked ominously beneath her feet. They reached the window, but the glass was cracked and fogged, a barrier shrouded in another layer of darkness. She pressed against it, desperate to see outside. The view was dismal. A storm loomed on the horizon, clouds rolling in like malevolent spirits, deepening the shadows around them. Thunder rumbled, the sound a mocking laughter that echoed the figure's voice from before. Just then, they heard a low, sorrowful wail, a sound that twisted Jamie's stomach. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, instinctively pulling Lily closer. "It sounds sad, like it needs help," Lily replied, her eyes wide with concern. "That's just a trick," Jamie said, masking her own fear with a voice that echoed courage. "If we just find a way to break out." Before she could finish, blank shapes materialized from the corners of the room, creeping toward them. Jamie squinted, heart racing as she discerned the figures. They were remnants of something once alive, twisted shadows of faces she almost recognized. They reached out, their empty eyes pleading, their mouths opening and closing without sound. "Mommy!" Lily gasped, recoiling. Jamie's hand tightened around the doll. It pulsed again, brighter this time, filling the room with a soft glow that pushed the shadows back momentarily. "Stay close," Jamie shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. She could feel the darkness clawing at her skin, a coldness wrapping around her heart. Then the symbols on the furniture flickered in the light, whispering secrets. They looked like warnings, each glowing shape a pulse that spoke of ancient truths and hidden horrors. "What are they?" Lily asked, eyes wide with fear. "I don't know, but I think they might show us the way out," Jamie said, breathless. Each symbol seemed to resonate with the doll, creating a chorus of low hums that danced through the air. But as she studied them, the shadows rushed back, angry and insistent, ready to reclaim their prey. "Lily, listen. We need to find a way to break their hold. Focus on the light. It's our only chance," Jamie shouted, desperation spilling into her words. The figures lunged, a cacophony of cries rising to a fever pitch, drowning out everything. Jamie squeezed her eyes shut. Breathing in deep, she had to be brave. They both did. They needed strength. Just then, a sudden crack echoed through the room, reverberating across the walls. Jamie snapped her eyes open, and what she saw sent a chill racing down her spine. A dark rift had formed in the center of the room, swirling with unholy energy. It pulsed, hunger radiating from it, as if it had awakened and was now calling them in. "Mommy, what is that?" Lily whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know, but we can't go near it," Jamie shouted, panic surging back as she steeled herself. They had to act, now more than ever. Would the doll's magic save them, or was it leading them straight into the abyss? Time was running out. The darkness no longer a mere shadow, it was ready to strike. And like a thunderbolt, Jamie felt a surge of strength. "Hold my hand. We fight together." But as they prepared to confront the rift, a whisper threaded through the air, chilling Jamie more than any shadow ever could. "You can't escape it. You belong to the dark now. What would they have to sacrifice to survive?" The choices before them pressed heavily, leaving Jamie trembling, staring into the abyss that loomed just beyond their fragile light. The rift seemed to breathe, a dark lung that pulsed menacingly in the ruined room. Jamie's heart raced, every thump echoing her mounting dread. She pulled Lily close, feeling the chill of her daughter's trembling body against her own. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice was small, lost in that echoing darkness. "Me too," Jamie whispered, her mind racing. "But we can't give in. Look at the doll." The doll glimmered, a fierce blue light fighting against the encroaching shadows. Its eyes glinted unsettlingly, almost aware. Jamie felt as if it were feeding on their fear, stirring something dark within the rift. "Can it help us?" Lily asked, hope flaring briefly in her wide eyes. "It has to," Jamie said, wishing she believed it. "But we need to use it together. On the count of 3. What if it's no good?" Lily swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then we'll figure it out as we go," Jamie replied, determination sharpening her tone. 1, 2, 3. Together they raised the doll between them. As the light burst forth, flooding the room with an ethereal glow, the shadows recoiled. The whispering morphed into an anguished scream, and Jamie felt the air grow thick with fury, forcing her to stumble back. "Lily!" she cried out, her voice laced with panic. But Lily was still in place, eyes locked on the rift, entranced and terrified. Dark hands clawed at the edges of reality, reaching, grasping. "Mommy, it wants me!" Lily shrieked. "No, stay back." Jamie lunged, desperate to pull her daughter away, but something heavy dragged at her feet. A shadowy tendril snaked around Jamie's ankle, icy and suffocating, pulling her down. She clawed at the floorboards, gasping for breath. Lily, hold on the doll flared, illuminating ancient symbols that now glowed like molten lava. They twisted words that seemed to speak directly to Jamie, urging her to do something, but it was lost under the chaos roaring in her ears. "Fight it! Fight it with me!" Jamie screamed, summoning every ounce of strength she had. In that moment, she sensed a flicker of defiance from the doll. Together it seemed to whisper, merging its light with their shared fear, channeling it into an unstoppable force. "Hold my hand!" Jamie yelled, reaching out, her fingers brushing against Lily's. But as she did, the rift heaved violently, shaking the room to its core. Then everything went still. An oppressive silence blanketed them, suffocating. For a split second, Jamie thought they had escaped, but then the shadows surged back, angrier than before. The rift twisted wider, revealing an inner darkness that seemed to contain endless voids and lost souls. "No!" Jamie shouted, her heart thudding painfully in her chest. "We're not done yet." Drawing on the doll's light, she felt a surge of strength. With a primal scream, Jamie channeled every ounce of fear and fury she felt into that desperate glow. The symbols flared bright, thrumming with ancient power as the darkness writhed, Jamie felt a balance shift. It was her chance. Now Lily. Before she could finish her command, a surge erupted from the rift, blasting them backward. Shadows swept around her, making the familiar feeling of home evaporate, replaced by cold despair. Jamie's mind raced. What if they didn't escape this? As she hit the floor, the last thing she saw was the eerie smile on the doll's porcelain face. A single word slipped from its lips, reverberating in her mind. Stop, and then everything went dark. When the shadows receded, Jamie awoke to find herself alone in the living room, except the walls were intact, and the eerie glow had vanished. The doll lay abandoned, ominously silent. Lily, desperation clawed at her throat. She scrambled to her feet, searching, panic igniting anew. Lily. But the house was empty. Had they been separated? Where could her daughter be? Then, a faint giggle echoed from somewhere deeper inside the house. Ignoring the icy sweat trickling down her spine, Jamie felt a chilling fear wash over her. Maybe they hadn't escaped at all. Lily? That laugh rang out again, playful yet haunting. It stirred something primal within Jamie. This was not a game. They had to find each other, and fast. Where was the darkness leading them now? Jamie's heart raced, echoing in her ears as she followed the sound of that chilling giggle. It came from the depths of the house, an innocent laugh that shattered the silence like glass. Lily, she called again, urgency pumping adrenaline through her veins. Each step felt heavier, like she was walking through thick fog. The shadows creeping back as if to reclaim their prize. Her mind was a whirlwind. Hadn't they just escaped? Where was the light, the safety? Stay strong. Stay close, she whispered to herself, fighting the rising tide of fear. She approached the hallway, taking each step like it was plagued with unseen claws ready to reach out for her. The warmth of home felt stolen. Now it just seemed cold and hollow. The giggle echoed again, a fluttering sound in stark contrast to the dread that clung to her. Jamie pushed through the tension, moving towards Lily's bedroom, the door slightly ajar. She eased it open as quietly as she could, her breath hitching in anticipation. Inside, the room was bathed in light now, golden rays spilling in through the window, yet shadows still coiled around the edges like snakes ready to strike. Lily, Jamie whispered, fear mixing with hope. There, sitting on the floor, was Lily, surrounded by a circle of toys, her little fingers dancing in the air, a delighted smile plastered across her face. But something felt off. The shadows still lurked, swirling in the corners, whispering her name, beckoning to Lily with soft, seductive calls. Mommy, look! Lily's voice tinkled like wind chimes, but Jamie could see the doll perched right next to her, its eyes glinting, alive in a way that made Jamie's skin crawl. Lily, come here, Jamie urged, her heart twisting with dread. She reached for her daughter, each second stretching like a taut wire. But Lily, caught in a trance, didn't turn. Instead, she giggled again, pointing at the doll. It wants to play a game. Her voice was strangely sweet, an inviting melody that hung in the air. No, Lily, it's not safe. Panic rose within Jamie, clawing at her throat. You need to listen to me. As if hearing her distress, the doll moved slightly, its head tilting eternally in understanding, an expression that felt disturbingly affectionate. Jamie could feel the darkness press against her like a wave, choking her resolve. No, she shouted, plunging forward, her heart racing faster than her feet. Come on, sweetie. She reached for Lily, who finally blinked as if waking from a deep slumber. But the shadows hissed, swirling around them furiously, thickening the air until it felt almost solid, filled with malice. Lily's eyes shifted, confusion settling in. Mom? What happened? The light pulsed around them, a rhythmic thrum that felt fragile. We need to go now, Jamie insisted, scooping Lily into her arms. As she turned to burst from the room, the shadows lashed out, seething and reaching. Hold on tight. The doll's laughter erupted, laughter reminiscent of a broken toy, mocking their flight. Jamie sprinted down the hallway, the darkness clawing at her back, dragging air from her lungs. I won't let it take you. Not again. Jamie cried, determination fueling every step as they raced for the door that led outside. The sun shone bright beyond the threshold, a beacon of hope glistening against the despair closing in. Just as they reached the door, a sharp chill blasted through the air. The figure appeared again, its form more grotesque, every feature contorting into something horrifying. You cannot escape what is yours. The voice roared, reverberating through Jamie's bones, shaking her to her core. With adrenaline surging, she yanked open the front door, yanking Lily behind her. Run. Just run, she hollered, and they burst outside into the sun, the warmth enveloping them. The shadows writhed and roared behind them, a backdrop of chaos. As they ventured into the light of day, they were free, but Jamie felt the weight of the darkness linger, an unbroken chain tethered to her heart. Mommy, what about the doll? Lily asked, her small voice unsure. Jamie paused, turning slightly, the doll now lying, abandoned on the floor, its eyes glinting maliciously as warmth from the sun washed over it. Jamie's chest tightened. We can't let it control us. We have to forget, we have to live. Lily nodded, yet Jamie could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. But it could always come back, right? Drawing Lily closer, Jamie shook her head defiantly. If it tries, we'll fight together. Always. And with that, they turned their backs to the house where shadows loomed, stepping forward into the unknown. Jamie felt raw, liberated yet haunted by those memories and creatures that could linger just beyond the edges of light. But as long as they faced it together, hope pulsed within her like a flickering flame against the dark. They would overcome this. They would reclaim their lives. And as they stepped into the warmth of the sun, Jamie whispered, "We're free and we'll fight for our light." But deep down, she knew the darkness would always be there, lurking at the edges. Sometimes, just sometimes, it would be a fight worth making. But for now, they were alive, and that was more than enough. If you craved more adrenaline-pumping stories like this one, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button to show your support. It makes a difference, I promise. Don't hold back, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Lily and Jamie's fate. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who must experience this incredible conclusion. Let us keep this community thriving. Adventurous souls.